ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। In this session, we'll be discussing from the 33rd verse of the 6th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Pragayatasva viryani tirthapada priyashravaha ahuta ivame shigram darshanam yati chetasi. The meaning of this verse is, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart as if called for, as soon as I begin chanting his holy activities. Narad Muni is describing his position as a pure devotee constantly engaged in singing the glories of the Lord and traveling for the sake of preaching everywhere, in this material world especially. What happens when he chants the holy activities of the Supreme Lord? The Supreme Lord appears on the seat of his heart. At once, as soon as he sings the glories, as if Narad Muni is calling out for the Lord. Like that, the Lord appears immediately. You call me? Yes, I am here. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this point. The absolute personality of Godhead is not different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. This word absolute has to be carefully understood. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the very opening verse, it is said by Vyasadeva, the author of the Bhagavatam, that I meditate upon Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth. Satyam param dhimahi. Satyam param. Satyam param. Satyam is truth. Param there indicates absolute truth. So what is this absolute truth? Absolute truth is truth which is truth in all phases of time. Past, present and future. The truth is always the truth. It doesn't change. Relative truth is truth which is not true in all phases of time. Every truth in the material world of some material object or material activity is a relative truth. If, to give an example, if I say such and such a gentleman is residing in a particular apartment or house. Now this statement is a relative truth, because what happens with time? In course of time, that gentleman who is staying in a particular house, when he passes away, when he changes body, when he dies, then that statement, such and such a gentleman residing in the house, is no longer true. Then we have to say he was residing. And when he died, he's no longer residing in the house. Or even when he shifts from that residence, due to whatever reason, to another residence, then that statement, such as the gentleman is residing in this house, is no longer true. So like this, every statement we make about a material phenomenon in this world is a relative truth. It is relative to time. Whereas the absolute personality of Godhead, Krishna, is absolute truth. He is always the Lord. He doesn't change his body. He doesn't change his position, his form, his names, his qualities, his forms don't change. You look at our own form, material body. It changes. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. Anything material, it is constantly undergoing change. That's the nature of material existence, isn't it? So, spiritual existence is not changing, unchanging reality. So, unchanging reality should not be mistaken to be something which is uninteresting. In the material world, because inherently in anything material there is no rasa, therefore everything material is actually without any substance, is without substance, is without life, really speaking, without any rasa. Whereas spiritual existence is full of rasa, even though unchanging. How is it interesting if it is unchanging? It is interesting because spirit is dynamic, unlike matter. Matter is static. Spirit is dynamic. So, spirit is always alive, full of life. Spirit is actually full of life. And that life never expires. Just like we say, we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that this real person inside this body, the spirit soul, does not die. Is always living, but changes body. The body is something which is material, is subject to deterioration, and one day we have to quit this body when it becomes old and useless. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. So, spirit is dynamic, spirit is full of life, spirit is actually full of rasa. That is because the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, he is the ultimate reality, ultimate person, the ultimate source. Janmadhyasiyataha. From him everything is emanating. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate. So he is full of rasa. He is full of life. He is full of love. He is full of activities. So all of them are actually absolute. All of them are absolute. They are not different from each other. So as soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of hearing, chanting and remembering the name, fame and activities of the Lord, a pure devotee is engaged always in devotional service. What does devotional service consist of? 9 different kinds of activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Of which 3 are particularly mentioned here. The first 3, hearing, chanting and remembering. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. About what? Hearing about what? Or chanting or remembering what? The name, fame and activities of the Lord. That is the recommendation in the Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. About Vishnu, about the Supreme Lord. We have to hear about His names, His qualities, His pastimes, His forms, His paraphernalia, His abode, His devotees, His relationships, His creation, His maintenance, His destruction, everything about Him. When we hear that, or we chant about it, or we remember them, at once the Supreme Lord becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee. These ordinary eyes, we cannot see anything spiritual. How do the pure devotees see? They see with transcendental eyes. And how do they see with transcendental eyes? That is described here. By reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart of the spiritual, by spiritual television. Prabhupada uses a term called spiritual television. Just like you have got experience of a material television. You have a television at home. Now the program that is broadcast by a station, you tune in or you connect to that station through your whatever, the set-top box or whatever. Then the program being broadcast appears on your television screen and you are able to see that program. That program is going on somewhere. Either it is recorded and that recording is broadcast, or live it is going on. Let's say a cricket match is going on in Australia and you are sitting in India. You can watch that cricket match live through this arrangement of television. Is it not? Same way, there is something called a spiritual television. What is that spiritual television? That when a devotee sings the Lord's name or hears about the Lord's glories or remembers the Lord's glorification which he has heard before or recited before, immediately the Lord appears in his heart like a spiritual television is switched on. He reflects himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. And this is possible for anybody who is engaged in pure devotional service. Seeing the Lord within the heart, reflected by this spiritual television, is possible for anyone who engages in pure devotional service of hearing or chanting or remembering. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. What is the nature of pure devotees? They are always engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they are always experiencing the presence of the Lord every moment. Because as soon as they sing or hear or do devotional service, the Lord is appearing on their heart. Another thing Srila Prabhupada explains is that Sri Narad Muni chants the glorification of the Lord not only for his personal benefit, but he is doing it for the benefit of everyone, especially in this material world. Simply by hearing the glories of the Lord from pure devotees, even those who are not spiritually advanced can become spiritually advanced, can be able to see the Lord by hearing with full attention, by focusing completely the attention on such descriptions or singing, we can experience the presence of the Lord in our heart. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.